So now please welcome Kyle. You've seen his work in during Scopiton, the last edition, and an artist we like very much here. So it's to you.
Hey everybody, thank you Zach for that awesome presentation. I want to say thank you too for having me, and I get a chance to lead this workshop tomorrow. It's going to be great. Is anyone coming to learn about computer vision? Some people? A couple people. Well, maybe by the end of this you'll be more interested. My name's Kyle, and I just wanted to share two sort of directions in my work over the last few years. I'm an artist, and you might have seen this kind of weird project I was working on at Scopiton with Daito Manabe and Klaus Obermeier. This is kind of a, I think about a 30-minute performance that's full of a bunch of different vignettes between some dancers, and some of them are kind of body-oriented like this, and others are more face-oriented, and a lot of it's about like the relationship between the mind and the body, and breaking that down with weird technologies in a kind of theater dance context. But now, I'm here to talk about computer vision tomorrow, so I thought I'd say that was kind of something I spent a few years trying to get kind of technically good at, so I could maybe make some artwork that was different than other kinds of interaction that I'd seen before. One of the first chances I had to do that was working with Theo Watson on a project called Portrait Machine, where we were matching portraits together. So when you stand in front of it, it would show you similar portrait to someone who had previously stood there. And around that time, about 2009, I started getting excited about 3D scanning because the Kinect wasn't around yet, and the idea of like a 3D scanning camera was kind of novel and seemed like a good challenge. So I found out that you can make a 3D scanner with just like a camera and a projector, which seemed kind of crazy. So I put one together and started making 3D scans and experimenting with what the aesthetic looked like, and how to make more glitches or less glitches. And from working on that, I learned a bunch about how to connect kind of projectors and cameras to automatically scan things, whether it's a 3D shape, like a person, or whether it's like light bouncing off a mirror. And it sounds kind of esoteric at first, but well, I guess it is. But after I got kind of really deep into the technique, then I started to have ideas for other things that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise if I was just, you know, kind of sitting in my bed with my sketchbook, brainstorming ideas. I might not have come up with some of these unless I had the kind of technical background of experimenting with these technologies. So one of the next projects I made was using these same 3D scanning techniques to scan all of the reflections off of some mirror balls in the center of a room. So we had three, this is a project with Jonas Youngyan in 2012, I think, called Light Leaks. And so we had 50 mirror balls in the middle of the room and 3 projectors pointed at the mirror balls. So all these reflections on the wall are light bouncing off the mirror balls and hitting the wall. And if you wanted to, you can imagine going to each pixel on the projector and putting a single white pixel there, and then making a note like, okay, 500, 112. That pixel is mapped to this position in the space. So we wrote some code to like project a lot of patterns and then automatically figure out where that light was ending up in the room in 3D. And that gave us a chance to use all of those reflections like a big display, like an LED screen. And it's really nice being in this kind of space because all of your peripheral vision is totally encompassed with whatever is on the screen right now, or whatever's in the space. So you kind of lose your sense of like, orientation. So if everything moves like this, you kind of almost fall over because you don't really have a reference point. I'm interested in these like new ways of seeing and new ways of creating spaces that maybe weren't possible 10 years ago, and finding out like how does it change our perception of things. This was a project with Arturo Castro called face substitution, and I wonder, do I have any other faces here? Maybe not. Maybe I just have Daito. No other faces. This is maybe another example of like an application of computer vision that normally the people who are using computer vision are like governments and defense agencies and corporations, and they have like a very commercial purpose or very political purpose in mind. So when artists get their hands on these technologies, sometimes they come up with things that don't necessarily have an application like that, but they're kind of inspiring or make you curious or make you laugh or make you excited. I think any of these things are just as valuable, and that one didn't really work. It looks really weird. So when people like me and Arturo and Zach and Elliot and Sarah, when we're all working with these technologies, we tend to discover like these little interstitial areas of things like computer vision, applications that people who are non-artists might not have discovered, and then I'll try and kind of craft them into being part of an installation. So with this one, we made a piece. Arturo and I made a piece where you walk up to a screen and you see yourself, but then after you blink, it replaces your face with someone else's, and it's a really strange moment between blinking and then realizing it's someone else's face. Because you don't notice for that second or two that it's actually someone else's face. It takes a moment for you to kind of viscerally understand it, and there's like a moment of like your body image, your personal body image being kind of modified, which I find really interesting. This one was with Golan Levin and Chris Chagru 2 years ago. Very simple box. This is a box you put your hand in. This is called Augmented Hand Series. But after you put your hand in, it starts doing strange things to your hand. This was inspired by some kind of creepy hands that Golan saw when he was a kid in a museum. And I think it's been in his brain ever since, the idea of like making something that turns your hand into those creepy hands. I think sometimes good art can kind of collapse the boundary between like how you see yourself and how you see other people, or how you see your body and how you see other bodies, or maybe just make you laugh a little bit. And I think this one does a little bit of all those things. I really like watching some of the kids respond to this, and this is more demos. But I really like watching some kids respond to this, and then sometimes they'll kind of peek inside the box, like, yeah, like this. Like, really? Is that for real? Yeah, here, this is some more, maybe clearer video of what's going on. We tried to, so this is using a lot of the same things that I was learning, like working on other computer vision projects, things about blending and tracking objects, and we tried to make it as seamless as possible, because it's not always the case. It's not always the case that you need something to be like, to look perfect. Sometimes just suggesting it is enough. But in this case, I think for the illusion to be really complete and for it to feel as weird as we wanted it to feel, it took a lot of kind of hard technical work. So the other half of what I wanted to share was kind of a new direction that I've been going in for the last year or so. Instead of new ways of seeing with computer vision. It's more like new ways of thinking. It's a lot of machine learning and kind of crowdsourcing. One of the first projects I did maybe 2 or 3 years ago that used crowdsourcing was, it looked like this. It was called Converse Niche, and it was a lamp that I put together with Brian House, another artist, and we installed it around New York, where the microphone broadcasts conversations to Twitter, basically. We installed it anywhere that we could find a light socket, and it looks approximately like a light bulb. It looks kind of like a lamp in some places. Other places it looks really out of place. But basically it records the conversations and then posts them to this website called Mechanical Turk, where a human gets paid some small amount of money, maybe 25 cents, to take a 10-second recording and then say, this is what I heard. This is what someone was saying in that recording. And then we post directly to Twitter from Mechanical Turk. This might look like me, but it's definitely not me. So the end result is this Twitter account, Converse Niche, which just has hundreds of tweets, and it kind of shut down like the summer before last because I'm not sure, we kind of lost track of the lamp. Someone might have done something to it, but we haven't really been able to track it down. So if you have any leads on the location of Converse Niche, please let me know. I really like just reading through there and seeing, like, just make toast or something. I asked Michael why he did it. He know. People do get better. Some of it's really like personal and intimate, and then other stuff is like totally mundane, and I like that kind of chaos between those two that happens just in daily life. I think it's great to see life as this kind of performance happening around you, and any artwork that can reframe it that way, I really appreciate. Another project that's kind of in that vein of kind of crowdsourcing and reframing life as art is inspired by, it's called Exhausting a Crowd. It's inspired by this book from a French author, whose name I can't pronounce correctly. But this was written, I think in the 70s, in 72 maybe, in Paris. He sat on a bench for 3 days with his journal, and he just wrote, this is the English translation, sorry, he wrote everything that was happening in front of him. So things like, the cafe is full, a child is taking his dog for a run, looks like Snowy. I like that he makes up some kind of name for the dog, or maybe it's a reference to a dog that he knows. A 63 passes by. He really gets very precise about keeping track of all of the different buses that are passing by, because it becomes this like rhythm, this thing that like you start to notice when you're just sitting in a space, and it kind of frames your appreciation of the space. 2 men with pipes and black satchels, a man with a black satchel and no pipe. And then you start seeing, one thing framed in terms of another thing. When I read this, I thought it reminded me a lot of like what happens online with comments, what happens online with like threads where people are discussing a topic and all providing their own insight into it. And I thought it would be nice to create like a modern retelling of the same piece. And I went to, and so then I worked with the V&A Museum in London to create this piece, Exhausting a Crowd, using 12 hours of footage from Piccadilly Circus in London. And you can see, text might be a little hard to read, but I'll zoom in. Let's see what's happening. Anything? Oh snap, it's a Russian act casual. Got back from Colorado, dude. You're not Flower 14 from that chat, right? Whoa. There's a lot that's automatically removed, but some stuff still sneaks in sometimes, so I have to be careful. It's me and Mom's car, vroom vroom. $53 bus, run. It's kind of amazing. Here, I'll show you a trick. Don't post this anywhere. Oh wait, no, I did it wrong. you can skip to different points in time. Oh, we just hit 3. Perfect. This is what I was going to do anyway. So it's kind of synced to your local time. So right now it's 3 p.m. here. You see 3 p.m. on the video. It goes from 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. Some people are just causing problems and like saying, I'm a fly, I'm a bee. And other people are leaving like really insightful notes that are sort of like thoughts that people are thinking or observations about what's happening. Okay, I'm going to show you, hold on, I'm going to show you my one excerpt that I really love, which is like my favorite excerpt from Exhausting a Crowd. So after the first day that this site was online, this showed up. It's this couple walking around at night. It says to Mabel, Mabel, wait, look over there. Kiss me, you fool. What? Right here? Right now? Yes, right on the lips. It's so perfect. And then recently, people started adding a lot more comments. So that first one that we just saw, one person wrote the first 3, I think, comments, and then someone else saw that, and they started adding more comments. So now there's like a couple kissing, yes, right on the list. How do I get her back to my flat? And it starts getting kind of questionable, like, hand placed like a gentleman. Someone's really looking closely. Hand lower now. Or like I just did a new iteration in Amsterdam, or in the Netherlands. There's this great scene with this baby walking around. So with so I think a kind of crowdsourced appreciation of things is kind of a new way of thinking. It's something we've all gotten used to with social media, but there's still some ways to step back and like see it as an intelligence of its own. And maybe that's one kind of intelligence, and another one is the way that machine learning is changing right now. It's through new technology like deep learning. There's some more opportunities to understand complex media like images and text that was not really possible before. And maybe you've seen some applications like this. Has anyone seen this picture before? A couple people? Okay. So there's some stuff that's coming out of deep learning, like Deep Dream, or like experiments with transferring the style from a painting to an image, like putting a sort of abstract style on an animation, for example. But it's all based on this much simpler idea, which is like, how do we label things? So I'm interested, I don't know if you can see that, it says iPod at the top, which is about right. But I'm interested in this more fundamental idea of like, what happens when we're asking computers to think for us? What kind of biases are we imbuing in them? And what sort of new ways of appreciating the world can we extract from that new intelligence? Maybe it can help us maybe it can provide a lens through which we look through cultural artifacts, or a new tool for performance, or I don't know, I'm just starting to get into it, so I don't really know yet where I'm going. But I've been working on a few experiments, and just yesterday I flew from Japan, where I was working on visualizing this archive of media art from a professor named Itsuo Sakane, who has about 800 hours of mini DV tapes that he's been recording for the last 30 years. So whenever he's gone to like an Ars Electronica or a conference or any festival or exhibition, he's just been recording the whole time. Even there's some that are just like him getting dinner with people, and he just has the recorder on the table. So I'm starting to use these techniques, like the deep learning techniques, to try and understand and classify these tapes. in collaboration with Rhizomatics, which is a studio in Japan, and a few other people. Yusuke Tomoto is helping with some of the deep learning. And you can see there's a bunch of kind of funny artifacts that come out of this, like all of the faces get classified in one similar area. There's like a little section for some, this is some of the anime section, I guess. All of the white on black text gets put in the same place. These are all slides, basically. People giving presentations and credits and stuff like that. Sometimes it groups by color. All the sunsets are over here. And from watching all this footage, I've started to get like a new appreciation for, I don't know, just the history of media art and understanding kind of where new technologies fall into this timeline and how different people have approached integrating those technologies into their practice. Or I'm thinking maybe from a more like a performative side. Let's see if the sound works here. Yeah. This is my favorite area right over here. I want to make music that I could never have even imagined, not even making, but just even listening to. And I think as I experiment with more of these techniques, I'm discovering like those things that I wouldn't have considered otherwise. Like I was showing light leaks earlier, I wouldn't have imagined that without having some appreciation of like what's going on with computer vision and 3D scanning. And so this is basically, I just wanted to share my practice. This is like how I've been working for the last few years and some of the experiments I've been making. What does it say? A cell phone. Drinking from a wine glass. Yeah, suit and a tie, yeah. Maybe it knows about hoodies. Maybe a glass of wine is for later. So I'll just finish with this one. This is a new experiment, which is about using image labeling, kind of like the single labels that we were looking at earlier, but it's this technique is better at generating sentences to describe things. And we'll see where this one goes next. I'm not sure yet. So if any of this looks interesting, please stop by the workshop tomorrow, computer vision, and happy to hang out and explain some of these things to you in more technical detail. So talk to you soon. Thanks again.